Let me just first say thank you to the folks who are gathered here with me. You see Janet Abrams. She is the Executive Director of the Housing Authority of Baltimore. Rudy H.E.A.L is here somewhere, right there. Head of DPW, Greg Silo, is here. Cilio is here. He's the Assistant Director of the Health Department, our Health Commissioner. But we won't talk about the $1 billion STEP program today, but Greg will get a chance to talk about that too at some point. And then Eric Booker is here with DHCD, and I think one of your deputies is also here. Deputy
Chalmers, right here.
Mr. Right. I thought I saw him. Okay. So we're gathered this morning because we want to announce the launch of the H.E.A.L campaign. Everybody needs to be healed, am I correct? Just say yes, Ian. You can say yes. Thank you. But this H.E.A.L is a very special project of the Housing Authority of Baltimore City. Its aim is to get rid of rats, mice, roaches, and other pests. The acronym stands for Healthy Elimination of All Pests Long Term. And so the program will kick off on November the 1st at the Douglas Homes, and it will serve 16 HABC developments throughout the city. So I'm going to have our two directors say a few words about the program and why this is important. And again, this is about, we got members of the Residents Advisory Board of HABC is here. I know Code Enforcement is also here as well. And the Rat Rub Out Program folks are also here with us. So Jen?
Okay. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good morning, everyone. I am extremely pleased to announce the H.E.A.L program. When I thought about the program in talking to Ken Strong, never in a million years did I believe that it would become what it is today. The H.E.A.L program will definitely help our residents. It's part of our vision to create a healthy environment for our residents to live in. We have partnered with DPW, the Health Department, HCD, you name it in the city. We have created a strong partnership. I want to thank Ken Strong. He was able to coordinate all the different departments. We have Home Paramount, which is a contractor for the Housing Authority. And the program itself works with DPW from the outside, from the sidewalk, all the way into the buildings. It is our intent to get into every single unit, crawl spaces, basements, into our buildings, while DPW work the grounds. It is a holistic approach to pest elimination, and I believe with the Resident Advisory Board support, which was very strong from the beginning, and working with the residents, we were able to get everyone on board. We start the program at Douglas Homes, where we have the asthma program, and so all these different initiatives take us to one point. To make sure that our residents have a healthy environment to live. So I will turn it over to Rudy so he can tell you a little bit more about how his department will be working. But overall, like I stated in the beginning, this is a partnership. It's a healthy partnership between all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and certainly thank you, Director Abraham, and other city agencies and other partners. Public Works, we do inspections for rat barrels and treat rat barrels across the city. We rolled out this proactive rat abatement programs a couple years back. This is just another step into the public housing complex to further try to get a better handle, a better management in terms of the rat populations in the city. As you all know, that we rolled out about 180,000 cans, municipal trash cans in the city. In essence, is try to eliminate the food source from the rats. And we are going to be doing 3 inspections in the 16 complex in the public housing area. And we are going to be working very closely and in partnership and collaborations with certainly HABCs and HCD and then other city agencies as well as private partners. Thank you.
Thank you. Greg, did you want to share anything?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning. Thank you, Madam Mayor. We at the Health Department, through our community asthma program, every day see children who are affected by asthma, their lives, their education. And let me tell you, there is a direct connection between pests and asthma. Children in Baltimore City go to the emergency room 2.5 times more often than other children in the state of Maryland. So managing asthma needs to be a partnership between all the entities we have here today, and we appreciate that partnership. We anticipate the H.E.A.L program will decrease residents' exposure to these asthma triggers, which will help families to stay healthier. We're excited about our mayor and our housing authority's renewed commitment to this issue, and we look forward to working with the housing authority toward making public housing more healthy. Thank you so much.
I know you want to talk about that.
We'll get to it.
Eric?
Good morning, Madam Mayor. On behalf of Commissioner Braverman, we here at the Housing and Community Development Agency, while they're working property specific, we will be working on the perimeter with private residents, making certain that folks are actually using the trash cans, and where we identify rat burrows, we will be sending notices. And it is not our intention to cite people. We're not interested in your money. What we're interested in is you putting your trash out properly so that we can eliminate the food source for the rats. So we asked your cooperation, and I'm happy about this collaboration.
Okay, Ella? Ella is the president of the Residents Advisory Board, speaking on behalf of the residents.
Good morning, everyone. This is an exciting time. This is a time that the residents and the youth are looked out for because of the asthma, the rats, the trash, and everything. So we are working together, and we are looking forward to results in this campaign. Thank you.
Thank you, Ella. Ken, did you want to share anything? Or are you just grateful for the coordination? Ken?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My name is Ken Strong. I'm a special assistant in the Housing Authority of Baltimore City and the campaign manager for H.E.A.L. And I am just so honored and proud to be standing next to our mayor, who has, in her leadership, inspired city agencies to work together. And with the Housing Authority of Baltimore City, we're going to make public housing healthier for everyone and for the neighborhoods around our developments. Thank you very much.
Any questions for them?
Yeah, can you explain what's actually new about this? It sounds like you're saying we'll go into the developments and look for gaps like that.
Collaboration. You know, normally one agency is doing this. This is collaborating with all of our agencies who can impact and affect this, whether you're in the private sector or in the public sector. And so we've coordinated with all of these various agencies, DPW. As our inspector said, we're going to be moving through neighborhoods, trying to make sure that these boroughs aren't expanding. Mm-hmm. And so it's a collaborative effort. Instead of just doing this today and that tomorrow, everybody gets to work together. That's what government should be doing.
Is this the first time, if it is the first time, or the first time in how long that you've attempted to get into every single HEBC unit?
The way we have a private company, and so the way it has been working, a lot of the residents have been refusing service. So right now, this is the first time we're really pushing to get into every single unit and inspect every single room in each unit as we go through the process. So this is really the first time that we're really enforcing getting into all the units.
Just from a resident's perspective, how bad is the problem?
It's pretty bad. We've been overlooked for a while, so now that we are getting this attention, we're looking forward to everything they say.
Is something that's getting worse you've seen over the years?
Yes, it have. You know, they have a lot of redevelopment. They dig in, they bring in the rats up aboard. You know,
They move around.
They are around. So that's a really interesting fact, and we really looking forward to this rub out, and we are looking forward that the units be looked over and just treated, everything be treated instead of and every resident have to participate in it.
And if you could say your last name for us, just for the record.
Ella Broadway.
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 Mhm.
All right.
Why do residents refuse the rat service? Is it a hassle? Is it dangerous? Have the camp out in there?
I have no idea why they refuse it, but you know, for so long they really didn't have to do this. So now it's becoming a mandatory thing. They realize, you know, you could complain and do nothing about it, but it's mandatory now that they would be in every unit, review every unit, and the whole site.
So it's not just inside, it's outside as well.
Basements,
Yes.
crawl spaces.
everything.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
I'm good. You're good. Okay, limited. I said I'm limited. I got another press conference at 10, so I'm open.
Can you give us an idea of what, you've been briefed on all of the activities yesterday and last evening as it pertains to Halloween? There apparently are reports of a lot of some folks, young people shutting down Calvert Street yesterday at 3:30 in the afternoon.
Well, I know that there were groups and organizations that wanted to, we got a lot of activities starting this week focused on violence reduction. As you well know, Ceasefire has started their events start Thursday, Friday this week. And I think it was Mothers Against Violence were on the corner of Pennsylvania North on yesterday. But in terms of violence in the community, you know that down in Fells Point, they decided that they were shutting down many of the establishments to avoid the violence of last year. We had, I think, 2 stabbings, some shootings down there last year. Nothing occurred last evening. We did have a couple shootings, no murders last night. We've begun an intense focus, and we'll talk more about that as we're ramping up with this intense focus utilizing, as you can see with this particular effort that we just showcased, it's about how we collaborate as city agencies across the board. And so we're collaborating with all of our agencies to focus on our violence reduction. It's a part of my violence reduction strategy. So I don't know everything that occurred yesterday, but I do know that for the most part, violence was down last night.
In Fells Point, it was totally shut down.
Quiet.
So my question is that the best Baltimore can do in crowd enforcement? Is
Absolutely.
to bring in dump trucks?
No,
and
absolutely not.
dozens of police officers and say, essentially, don't come here?
No, absolutely not. I think what we're looking at is how do we disrupt violence in our city? And while we're putting this strategy and focus together and this intense piercing into various areas in the city, it's not about dump trucks and just policing. It's about how we get control of these neighborhoods. As you well know, there are just too many guns on the streets of our city. And I did not want to go through what happened last year down in Fells Point with all of the violence that occurred. And I understand what the merchants are saying. I'm sure they'll be back in full force this weekend, but that is not what we want for our city. We want people to be able to do business in our city. And we need to be able to do it safely. And while there were children still out trick-or-treating, the businesses did shut down around 8:30 last night.
In talking to some of those business owners, they reluctantly did what they did last night.
Right.
Because there was no really coordinated effort between the city, the police department, and the merchants to try to keep everybody safe. Reaction to that?
No, I think that there has been conversation with the merchants there. That was a merchants association's decision. We are working collaboratively across the board with our agencies. We're having discussions in and out of communities with various merchants. There's an intense focus in certain neighborhoods on certain merchants that have been disruptive, but that's not the case in Fells Point.
There was a particular focus in Fells Point, it appeared, on the Pendry. It was essentially protected by a fortress of dump trucks and, that street, that part of Thames Street had police lined and dump trucks sealing off part of the street.
Did you want
Was there a concern raised by Sagamore?
Not to me. Absolutely not to
To the
me.
city? Was there a concern raised by Sagamore?
Yeah, because certainly not to me.
So absolutely, I'd love to address that because I saw the social media opinions that started to occur last night. I saw your tweets, Jane, as well. As you know, the last 2 years on Halloween night in Fells Point, we've had an unacceptable level of violence, shootings, and stabbings. So the public safety response to that has to be thoughtful. And we have to couple our response with the fact, and I know Jane, you and Rob and others in this room saw what happened yesterday in New York. Motor vehicles now are being used as weapons in our country, across the world, when it comes to public gathering spaces. So in order for people who want to enjoy Halloween night to do so in a safe environment, there was, Rob, a coordinated public safety response. We had many meetings with the stakeholders, all the stakeholders, and to include the bar owners in Fells Point like we normally do. The corridor that was prohibited motor vehicle access was on Broadway up to Eastern and down to and around Thames Street. There was still access to pedestrians and people who wanted to go enjoy a meal or a drink. So I'd much rather be talking today about why we shut down streets than in Fells Point than why we had a shooting or a murder or a stabbing.
Well, but we have shootings and murders almost daily, and there's not this shut down the whole neighborhood or shut down the whole block. I think my question is looking forward. The Green Turtle last night had its windows boarded by plywood. I mean, the optics of this are, as you know, the reason you're getting comments on social media is because it's like, wait a minute. I mean, it almost looked like the National Guard in May of 2015 in protecting some of these businesses.
So Jane, I know you were down there last night. I was down there as well. And the comments that I received from a number of people was, thank you, Baltimore Police Department, for making sure that this environment is safe for me and my family to go to on a night like Halloween. And the image of the city as it pertains to special events and on particular nights is so important, and public safety has a role. Now, we took similar efforts on the day of the marathon. We take similar efforts for a host of special events that Baltimore has each and every year. And one of our special nights in Baltimore is Halloween night. And we have a responsibility to ensure that it's a safe environment. So again, it's kind of, we're in the damned if you do, damned if you don't profession, Jane, and I know you know that. I'd much rather be talking about this today, the public safety efforts that we took in coordination, Rob, with our stakeholders, than talking about a murder or a non-fatal shooting that inevitably would prompt questions from you as well.
Did Sagamore Development have a conversation with anyone in the police department about concerns it had for Halloween?
The conversations we had with the entire Fells Point community included all of the stakeholders.
Can you specifically comment on the Inner Harbor and what's going to be done to limit the crime or stop it, since that's the major tourist area?
Sure. The last academy class that graduated, just like the class that graduated before it, they're assigned full-time to foot patrol assignments throughout the city. One of those geographies is the downtown part of Baltimore that includes the Inner Harbor. So I'm certainly aware of those two assaults, and our presence is very, very important, particularly at the Inner Harbor and elsewhere in the city. And we're taking efforts to ensure that we have a appropriate presence. And when these acts occur, they're typically in areas that are considered downtown, captured on video, and that allows our detectives to have a great success rate identifying the people responsible and arresting them. And all too often nowadays, and I know you all know this because you've covered it, those perpetrators are juveniles.
What would have to happen in order to keep those businesses open last night? Is it just numbers for you guys? That you just don't have enough people to throw the problem, or?
That was a business decision made by those restaurant and bar owners. And again, their anxieties were high because of the violence that occurred there the last 2 years. So our coordinated public safety response to that was to make sure that we had a safer environment for people who wanted to enjoy Halloween night. The decision to close restaurants and bars early was a decision made by the restaurants and bars and not by the city of Baltimore or the police department, as you guys are well aware.
Commissioner, going back to the October 21st assaults in the Inner Harbor, I believe yesterday police said that was an isolated incident. How do you know that?
I'm not sure where you got that from, but I know that the particular assaults are under investigation. Like it normally seems to be the case, whoever the perpetrators are when we identify them, I'm sure that we will tie them to other crimes, acts of violence. So I don't know where you got isolated acts of violence. There is no particular string of these incidents happening at the Inner Harbor. So that may be, some of the semantics that I guess you're trying to concentrate on. We had a couple of assaults. They're under investigation, and we're taking them very, very seriously.
Mayor, do you think that the chairman of the Public Safety Committee is using his position in the best way to help the city fight violence?
I think you were at lunch when my lunch for the city council, and the public safety folks were there in the room, and I said that continuing with our violence reduction plan, that we have an intense focus, that I had a meeting with all of my department heads to say that this is not something we can do by ourselves. And I also mentioned that every other week here in City Hall, over 30 some odd groups sit around the table with me who are now also engaged in helping us to reduce violence. If you had been up on, if any one of the members of the committee had been up on Belvedere and Park Heights the night before, where I was with the Nation of Islam, where about 30 or 40 people were spread out to help protect that neighborhood or to walk and help to disrupt violence, that this is an intense focus. And what I said in the meeting, Ian, you were there, all of us need to be engaged. And what I'm talking about with city government is that government doesn't, the problems that we face in our city doesn't end from 9 to 5 p.m. That things happen, and we need to think about how we operate as a city agency to intensely focus on the problems that the city is facing. And I certainly asked for questions, and there were no questions there. And our meetings have begun, and I shared that with the members of the city council. No questions again at the meeting in regards to where we were moving forward in terms of getting all of the agencies involved. I think the city council is the legislative body, and we are the administrative body, and so I have a responsibility to make sure that we're leading our agencies in a way that focuses in on some of my priorities. And I've said time and time again, violence reduction is a priority, so every agency has a focus on violence reduction.
So you don't think that surprise hearings are necessarily the most useful exercise?
I think that folks can do whatever they want to do, but my focus is on how we reduce violence in our city, get everybody working together, and we will be out in the community talking about how we're doing this and how we're disrupting violence and how we plan to disrupt violence in our city. I can't lay out everything. It's like having an emergency plan. You can't tell everybody all of the plans, but I can tell you that we're intensely focused on reducing violence in the city, and that there are meetings going on every day around violence reduction with the agencies and the police department.
Commissioner, if we can ask you, I started to ask the mayor this question. There's some reporting, and I haven't done anything to confirm this, but I just know that it's out there, that yesterday afternoon, around 3 to 3:30, there was a group of juveniles, large, on Calvert Street downtown, that was blocking an intersection, et cetera, and apparently got a lot of comment. Again, this was posted on social media. I think it was posted on Reddit. I don't know. But just asking. That's why I'm asking. What did happen yesterday?
So we'll be more than glad to look into that and answer that question with some specificity. As much as I'm tempted sometimes, I don't glue myself to the gossip, rumors, and innuendos that circulate on social media routinely, but we can certainly look into that. Anytime we go into Halloween night, our concern is large groups of juveniles. It's been my experience with juveniles that all by their lonesome, they're completely harmless. They're just like any other kid, but when they seem to gather in groups and roam around, as happens in places across America on Halloween night, that often presents a public safety concern. So if there was a particular incident yesterday, we'll be glad, Chief Smith will be glad to look into it and get you a specific answer, but I don't have anything specifically to share.
The only thing I have...
The question I'd like to ask is going forward in terms of a plan. There are other nights and events. Easter night is one. There are other events.
Jane, are you saying that Easter night and Halloween night are somehow synonymous with each other?
I'm saying that there are nights, certain nights of the year, that tend to attract crowds at different places.
We do that, but we do it in Inner Harbor. We do it for New Year's Eve.
Going forward, for Fells Point on Halloween, Federal Hill on Halloween, wherever you want to talk about, or any other event that may provoke a large gathering, what is the plan of the city to address the concerns of business communities, but also the interest of the public to have access to what are popular areas?
Let me just say, Jane, that again, that was a business decision by those folks. We're continuing to meet with them because we want to have, we have visitors who come in town just to go to certain areas like Fells Point. We have folks who come downtown, go to Fells Point. So what we want to do is make sure that they feel comfortable to stay open. So our discussion with them is, what do we need to do? And in these discussions that we're having every morning with the police department and all of the agencies, we're looking at is lighting enough in those areas? Do we need more policing in those areas? Should we have more police on the ground in particular areas in the city? I mean, we're that squarely focused. We want people to come out and go to businesses and go to restaurants because they're economic generators for the city and for the state. So our conversations will continue with the business community, how we make them feel safe to stay open because business is good for the city and we want to make sure that people are comfortable doing business in our city.
Madam Mayor, is the crime plan working?
I think the crime plan takes time, and I think that you will see as we continue to focus and with all the technology that we plan to put into our police department, as you well know, not since 1998 they started putting computers in police cars in Prince George's County, Montgomery County. We're just getting them because I asked for them. We're down to 2,500 police officers. This is the first year since 2004 that we passed the attrition rate. We have 184 individuals at some stage of being police officers in our city. 33 just graduated. We now put in a system, we've got 1,000 people who have applied to be police officers. We now put in a system that will allow us to hire police officers faster. It would take up to 6 months. And so I think that the crime plan will work along with the consent decree, along with the community engagement, and the 30 or more groups that sit around the table and the collaboration with all of our city agencies. Yes, I do believe it'll work.
But is it working now? Is there progress being made now?
I think there's progress being made now, yes.
And how do you know that?
Because everybody's working together, and we didn't have that before.
Why is
Okay,
that?
why is that? Because I'm the mayor, and I said they have to work together. Thank you.